What if I told you that you could make your Aloe Vera Barbadensis plant start having pups much earlier than it normally does? Welcome to the channel. There are two varieties of aloe vera, the orange flowering chinensis and the yellow flowering barbadensis. Both reproduce through offshoots, commonly called pups. The chinensis variety produces pups at a very young age. Almost as soon as you plant it, recovery and propagation happen simultaneously. Within just a few weeks, you'll notice small green tips poking through the soil, announcing the arrival of new pups. It produces them almost like grass, and before long, your pot will be bursting. The barbadensis variety, however, starts producing pups much later, usually around 4 to 6 months after planting, and rarely after just a couple of months. There are situations, however, when the plant produces pups early, which I already covered in a previous video. In this video, I'll show you how to force the barbadensis variety to produce pups at a very young age. So, how did I get the idea of forcing barbadensis to produce pups earlier? Well, it wasn't something I read in a book. It came from watching the plants themselves. In past videos, I showed that barbadensis often produces pups as a survival response when the plant suffers leaf rot. Whether the plant is young or old, when it feels threatened, it tries to ensure survival by creating new life. When older, larger aloe vera plants die from leaf rot, they don't just disappear. They leave behind clusters of new pups, almost like a mother leaving behind her children. Even young plants do this on a smaller scale when they're under stress. It's a built-in survival instinct that guarantees the continuation of the species. That gave me an idea. What if I could mimic the same condition, where the central leaf crown, the heart of the plant, rots? If the plant can't grow new leaves, it might redirect its energy into producing pups instead, much like this plant I'm holding. For this experiment, I used these two barbadensis pups. This third one is the chinensis variety, which, as you can see, is already producing pups. Propagation is never a problem with this variety. To stop the plants from producing new leaves, I needed to damage the growing point. That's the very center of the crown, where new leaves emerge. I used a stick and carefully pierced the center, but only went halfway down the stem. I didn't want to reach the bottom part of the stem, because that's where the pups would eventually grow. After a week, the wound had healed. I thought I had succeeded, and I waited for pups, but instead, the plant proved me wrong. New leaves started pushing through again after 2 weeks. I could still see the damaged leaves from where the stick had pierced, but the plant had recovered and continued growing. I realized I hadn't gone deep enough. So I tried again, this time with 2 fresh Barbadensis pups. This time, I didn't hold back. After removing the smallest leaf at the center, I pierced straight down through the crown, all the way into the roots. I could even feel the stick hitting the bottom of the pot. I did the same for the second plant. I removed the youngest leaf, then pierced from the top, again passing all the way through to the root level. After 3 weeks, I checked on them. To my surprise, one of the plants had actually survived and was still growing new leaves. I couldn't help but be amused. Aloe vera can be so unpredictable. It's almost like if you try to kill it, it will survive. But if you care for it too much, it suddenly gives up. The second plant, however, reacted exactly as I had hoped. It stopped producing new leaves and instead began to grow a pup. At first, it was tiny, barely visible on camera, but it was there, proof that the experiment could work. The first 2 plants from my earlier attempt, the ones that survived my halfway pierce, are now growing leaves normally again. The scars are still visible, like reminders of what they went through, but the plants themselves are strong. After another couple of weeks, the plant that had a pup finally showed some exciting progress. It had grown more pups, and they were now much more visible. I decided to wait for 1 more week to get a definitive count of how many pups grew as a result of this experiment. But before that, I want to quickly show you the plant that I showed at the beginning of the video. Look at what it looks like now. The pups have grown significantly bigger and are thriving. Now back to the experiment. After waiting 1 more week, I counted a total of 8 pups growing from that single plant. From 1 small pup, I now had 8 new lives. As for the other plants that failed, they're still healthy and growing. And honestly, that makes me feel better. Because while I'm curious and experimental, I don't like intentionally harming my plants. The very first time I pierced a plant, I actually asked for forgiveness. But through this experiment, I learned something valuable. Aloe vera has a survival instinct that is both fascinating and inspiring. Even when damaged, it finds a way to preserve life, either through its own recovery or through producing pups. I hope you found this experiment as interesting as I did. Maybe it gave you a new perspective on how aloe vera survives and thrives. This is Danny. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. And as always, God bless you.